You welcome all. We are the simultaneous translation is available. You can have the interpretation when you have the choice under this screen, and we are having one of the United Nations program that we are going to have a big lecture, great lectures from Ibrahim Ali and Ali Ibrahim. Dr. Ali Ibrahim, he is a professor, he's assistant professor in the United Arab Emirates, United Arab Emirates, and he is a supervisor of several programs, and he is specialized in the, he participated in the knowledge indexes in 2019. Thank you very much for your attendance, Professor Ali. And before we start, that I want just to tell the audience and the listeners, any question you want to ask, you can write it down there and we can read it and ask the professor. You please go ahead and start. Thank you very much. At the beginning, I want to thank United Nations program and the Mohammed bin Rashid Foundation of the Knowledge Index, and for this opportunity. And thank you very much for all audience and the listeners as well. And hopefully that we are going to have a successful session, inshallah. That we hope that it will be powerful benefits from the session, and thank you very much if you want to ask me later. And I was a participant of, and I will be an active participant for your program here. Hopefully that it's clear. Our session today will be about the index of the higher education. I want just this indication of this index, the international or the global index is a, maybe some people who oppose will not accept this comprehensive concept, but we have to say that we are having some indexes here as comprehensive concept and competition as well, and that the central committee agreed about this one. The global index for the whole sectors that we are having, the pre-university learning or study, and the higher education. And we are having a vital sector as well, and the technological and the communication and economy as well, economic sector, and those are in power. All those indexes, all those axes are merged together. The global index. But we have here, we are here the pre-university study. The pre is 54.8, and the technical and training sector 50.8, and higher education 41, and innovation and developments were 25.5, and technological and IT and communication for 49.5, economy 44.9, and enabling environment 59.1. The global index, it's a roadmap for the sustainable growth or sustainable developments for all societies, which help to formulate the thinking strategies in order to support and enhance the knowledge. If we move to the infrastructure, to the knowledge of infrastructure, we have here the whole axis over here, the university, the pre-university learning or study is 15%. The technical and the training, professional, vocational and technical training was 15%. The higher education was 15%. All those axes, all those sectors, they used to represent all axes, and even here they were very they used to play a very vital role in all government sectors. Each sector, each axis is different from the another. Here, all the international, all the sectors are different from each other. It has its own circumstances, or it has own index or own indications. And the index used to contain 133 changeable and covered 136 countries, and 131 all over the world, and 134 and 227. Here about the higher education that why should we have an international index for the higher education? All researches, all the scientific that the index for higher education, why do we have this index, especially in the cooperation and economical cooperation and the growth? Because they have their own tools, they have own measurement, because they have their own measurement. After that, we have also common, the QS, we have also the QS, but the range of the university depends on the measurement of training, and they depends on the quality of training. Maybe in such university, they do have their own measurement of index of knowledge index, but because the higher education is to accept and to adapt with the international index. About the knowledge index for the higher education is how to measure, how to evaluate, how to assess the changes in this knowledge. And all countries, or any countries, has its own criteria in order to evaluate, in order to indicate the higher education, because yearly or annually the indication has to be done for each country. By following up the indexes, they have to measure the progress and the developments of this index. This is the structure of the index. They have several attempts in order to get the best quality of learning, the best quality of education. So, but we had a problem with the team of measurement, that we should a specific copy that they focus on the axis of the income, the income of the higher education and the outcomes of the higher education. So because the income was less percentage, but the outcomes was the 90%, 20% was higher, and there are, and the human resources, the joining and expenditure, that we have also, and the company, the expenditure, the training, the human resources, the graduation, each axis has its own criteria here, and the countries, they can compare between their axes, their higher education axes, and the outcomes of their higher education. They can evaluate, they can assess, they can stand, they can evaluate all the outcomes and the incomes of the, and how much percentage of the graduate students, the graduated students. So especially those who are holding or are doing MSc or PhD, so we can have an accurate percentage of these people. Those countries who are on a higher standard, such as like United Kingdom, Switzerland, Luxembourg, Canada, Denmark, those countries, they do have a higher knowledge index. For example, the United Kingdom, Switzerland, Luxembourg, Canada, and Denmark, they do have, but the other countries like Myanmar, Ghana, and some other countries, they were not able to get a sufficient knowledge index. But in 2019, the first group, the pioneer or the pride countries, and those countries, they used to have 30.1, but the index was 59.3 and 73.3. The Emirates was the first. It was the United Arab Emirates was with the first group. The second group of countries, and that used to have 69.31. The value or the indication was 452,668. Well, and the other countries, the other GCC countries like Bahrain, Oman, Kuwait, and Saudi Arabia were one of the second group. But the third group was like Egypt, Lebanon, and Algeria were in the third group. But the fourth group of the country, it was Syria, which was because unsettled or hotspot areas. That's why they got very low indication, very low knowledge index. About here, some notes. Through my following up to the global index, we could, with the help of some colleagues, how to empower the sectors, how to work, because how much those sectors to be adapted with the international, with the global changes. So those countries, those countries who are settled politically and they don't have any conflict, they got the best percentage, the best higher education. But those countries who does have some conflicts, so they got the lowest knowledge index here, and the highest. Those countries who do have, those countries who do have settlement, who do have, they don't have any conflict, they have a very good political and economical and governance policy and legislation as well. They do have, and after, the second point is how the sector has an impact on the major, because the higher education sector, how to reach the incomes to the best incomes and outcomes, so, and how to get the sector to be active and to be motivated in order to serve much more better than the other. This third point is how to that all the some sectors like higher education and scientific research, innovation, and the economy, how do they to be integrated in order to have a very good and a very excellent connections with each other? And they the fourth point is the future move, how to move in the future, how to go forwards in the future. And that links to the international and the global index, and how to use how the global index organization or association to be constructed by some experts. Some experts do you think own, and we do have deep study and scientific research in order to build and to empower the index. And we should also cooperate with the international and the global. We should cooperate with the international experts in order to empower our index in our higher education. So it has to be through global experts, and that they have a good experience. Thank you very much, Dr. Amr. And this is for this session. Actually, we have to start with the Corona. How much COVID-19 have an impact on this sector? And do you think, do we have a direct impact or affections on the higher education? And actually, this is actually, we do have an impact. It will, and many countries have a bad impact because of COVID-19, because we moved to the electronic to the many countries have been affected, but many countries also have not been affected as well. So then we come to an end to this COVID-19. Surely, there is many countries have been affected badly by COVID-19 because of the speed of the networking and the efficiency of this networking, and those were challenges. These were challenges for many countries. And also those challenges drives to more challenges, to complicated challenges. And some universities used some programs and formulated. They used some program, but they couldn't use them. They imported some software, and some schools, some educational sectors or schools, they used to have more softwares at the same time. So this created the confusions with the students and the stuff. And another challenge that I realize it here, how it's the social psychological change. This was also a challenge. The social psychological, the lockdown, don't move, don't make distance, about the distance, and some other. They also some specialists, and also some programs used to invade your characteristics, and the hackers also move actively through those softwares, and this the education sector was the main sector who has been affected by COVID-19, because each individual in the society or the community, he wants to learn some things. So maybe the efficiency also sometimes, sufficiency also, the efficiency, it must have an effect as well. Do you think this is in the future? It will have a sustainable effect? I think the efficiency will be provided, the training will be done, and the distance learning will be more and more. I think the experience will have a good place in the future, which is going to eradicate those challenges. The training, the knowledge, the individual must go to the labor, must go to the institutes to learn. We have to provide more efficient training. We have to have efficient training and technical training, educational training, in order to be well adapted to the new educational environment. And I think, and I think because many people are a lot of talking about the vaccination these days. Hopefully that we are going to eradicate such disease, and the people and the world will be able to eradicate this kind of disease. Do you think any positive impact, at this moment, right now, at the time of pandemic, COVID-19? Uh-huh. Yeah, actually, personally, I have my own opinion, and because of my, as a parent, or as a father of students, I, and the university or the school will, and it's a group of knowledge, it's a group of information. It's alive. The academic sector is alive. We are living in a sector of education, and we do have different roles. We have partners, we have actually the students do have their social life, they do have partners, they do have colleagues, they do have mates. The activities that the students are doing, like adventures, and this generation is completely different, and they are very well qualified to gain some many electronic games, for example. They are very professional to deal with the technological aids. Actually, those students, they need for their peers, they need for their friends, because the friends or the groups of friends, they have a very good impact, and it's a factor to grow their thinking, to grow their mind. The students, they need to have an educational environment in order to talk to their friends, to their teachers. This is, I think, one of the positive impact is we have many programs, the Skype, the Zoom. We have many software which helps the people to communicate. The electronic education is, we learned a lot deeply with using those softwares, the communication programs or the communication softwares. So it's acceptable that there are more programs in the university, which is going, the staff, the university staff, they are training how to arrange their exams. The professors in the university are arranging how to use the technology to provide their exams, and they are going to be also well trained in order to deal with virtual programs, in order to provide their activity, provide their work, provide their researches, and how to provide their skills, how to provide. I think for further, the education, the virtual education, and the virtual education will be more and more in the future. And I think one of the positive fact that we are going to be deeply involved to the electronic and the virtual education more and more and more. My daughter wants to go to school and to see to meet her teachers, and it could have also some school subjects could be provided by online, but still my daughter wants to see her teachers, her colleagues, her classmates, many, and hopefully that we get more positive impact in the future. But if we want to have a positive impact for that the higher education has been changed with parents and with specific on with its treasure as well. My expectation we will have more competition in the future, and powerful competition, extreme competition in the future to have more softwares and programs. And the students will have easily in the future, the student will choose the highest education and the best university in the future. The online learning, the online study will be provide, and the whole university without going to UK to study in Oxford or in Cambridge. No, the online education will be more and more effective, as our doctors say, that especially, and the best university, the reputed university, the highest, the best universities in the world will be more beneficial, will gain more benefits and profits. So when the university changed to online and across the border, the student can join. The student can join to any university he wants to have. So, for example, my son wants to go to any excellent university. He can join any university and study from home, and he will be graduated from the best and the most excellent universities. So when the circumstances change, this trends will enhance, and the governments, the universities, and the governments will accept the online degrees because they have to be very well adapted to the changeable and to the international challenges and international changes. So we have to accept any online certificate. Like there are many programs will. There is another point here. This trend, it will be, and not in our country, but in the Eastern countries. And I think our in our country, in the Middle East, for example, I think they will not be so professional like the international universities or the biggest university in the world. I think the trends of the students will go towards the best university, the best reputed universities. I think this is a very good, positive. This is a positive. United Nations also, and the online program to those programs, and the family will be more happier when their sons and daughters got their degree from a good reputed university, or will get from international university from the whole. Yeah, hopefully that we will go. The government university, the formal university, they do have a good background for competition, and the competition, they do have a very powerful background to go and to compete and to have a powerful competition and to have international challenges and to be adapted with more changes in the world. And I think, but the marketing will be a choice, and the private university will be more weaker, not more effective. Just I want to ask you a question about the knowledge index. Do you think during the pandemic COVID-19 will have an impact on the knowledge index? And I think this is it. It's completely affected because the educational shapes or the educational sectors has been changed, and we should have. But this depends on the database. It depends on the database of the international organization. If we do have some changes in the database, and we get benefits from these database, then I think we will have to be very well adapted to the changes. Do you think the database will be available after a year? Do you think it will be available for a year, for example, this international database? Do you think we should have the database? We should have people very well adapted. Now we are going to have another question from the audience. Hani, a question he is asking, how we divide, how can we divide the countries? How can we divide the countries referring to the knowledge index? Thank you very much, Mr. Hami. The country is selected how much database they have, how much statistical database they have. That if there is no database in any country, it won't be selected, it won't be chosen, because that's why the selection of these governments will be selected referring to the database, and how those database is adapted with the international database. So they have to choose, they have to construct a powerful database or statistical tables to be adapted with the international. And I think another questions, because of the instability, because some hotspot countries, they don't have that effective knowledge index. Wafa, do you think any country is in war or does have a conflict? They are not in, they don't have that expenditure or cost for educational system because they are busy with the conflict, with the civil war or internal conflict. So that the index, the knowledge index is completely affected by the conflicts in those countries. But we can predict sometimes, and there is instability, and we can predict that some other countries will have a powerful knowledge index, and the changes, how to reduce the suffering of these countries in order to be adapted with the international. Tariq is asking about how can we narrow the gap of outcoming and incoming, the incoming and outcoming or incomes. Well, many countries, I think I talked about the effective of the income and outcomes. We can have analytical study in order to find out the weak points and the strong points, and to find out the gaps. And those students who are graduated, they graduated or joined the MSc programs, for example, and the students who are doing MSc and through or during 2 years will be graduated. So, and there is that when we predict the beginning and we predict the outcomes, then there are some errors, some problems with the analyze to the statistical upcomings, and the country has to revise, to evaluate, or to reassess their performance in those universities. And I think this is different from, and we have deep study or deep scientific study that we have to go. There is another, Muhammad is asking what's the importance of the knowledge index, and what's the impact, or what's its impact on the Arab countries? The importance of the knowledge index. How can we compare it with the international or global community? And actually, to compare, the title is not a comparison between here and there. And there is a different how to compare each country. Actually, to evaluate the index year after year. This is the most important. For example, group number 3. Now we can't compare Egypt with some other countries. We should work, or the government must work, how to evaluate the knowledge index internally inside the country, not to compare it with the other countries. When we care about the higher education, how to get the database of the index, how to get it, how to analyze it, how to evaluate it. This is the most important, not to compare it with other countries. If we have this analyzed study or statistical studies, for example, the higher education is very important for industrial sectors. The higher education is very important for when we get low value of index, that we have to improve it. How to get, if there is any points or any problems between the relation between the industrial sector and the university, then we will have to stand on. We will have to reassess. We have to evaluate. We have to put some strategical plan for that in order to reform it. Al-Mutawakkil is asking, the generation of Corona, how can we deal? The generation of Corona, how can we deal with it? And actually depends on Allah. We depend on God here. We should not depend on the human. And there are some predictions here, or anticipations, but we have to depend on God for that. Amina is asking about electronic education. Do you think this is for time being, and we will change, we will come back to the normality? This is actually, this is for time being, but in the future it will be, I think the sustainable education online will be continued, will be ongoing. It will be, we will have a continuous online learning, online education. It has to be, it will be imposed on all universities. And this is one, and I think this will be more effective in the future. The ideological or the education. I think this is the only solution in the future, that we will have ideological, or we will have online learning. And some other countries who doesn't have a big population, hop on and hop off. It could be, we could have normal classes and we would have online classes. This happens with small population countries. Do you think the IT learning or the online learning will be improved, will be developed? Another questions we have here. There is a question. Another question we have. There's a question. Do you think the changing and the international marketing? In the markets, in the international market, how could we be well qualified to be well qualified to deal with the international markets or marketing? This is, I think, the skills, abilities, capabilities will be more qualified, will be more improved. And I think the marketing required more effective and more skills and efficiency. And then we can have different ways in order to deal with the international markets. And do you no, it won't have, Corona won't have, the marketing will impose its influence on the universities and the educational sector in order for those universities to provide more training for their students to qualify, to make more training in order to get well people to deal with the marketing and how to evaluate the skills and how the graduates are ready and qualified to deal with the work markets. And I think at the administration, I used to the universities here also must have to have an improvement. They should deal with their students efficiently and skillfully in order to qualify their students in order to be well adapted to the international markets, for example. And what are the careers in the future? The university must concentrate and focus on the future careers, and they should teach their students to get a clear pictures about the future jobs in order to get the student to be well adapted with those new jobs, in order to the students have to have a clear picture of choosing the job. Yazid, you said about the impact, you said about the psychological, social impact on the students. Do you, and you said about how do you think the developed learning and the distance learning more important than the social experience and the social interaction? What do you think? Which is more important? Just the online learning or to go back to the normality of the pandemic imposed our students to stay safe in homes. The student, the female or male, he might have an online education with Holland or some other. But now the pandemic COVID-19 imposed the online learning. There is no another choice, no need to go to the university. So we have to, and the online here, and actually I know that the student must have some colleagues and to communicate and to interact with their mates. So, but still but what to do? There is no choice. There is no choice. Only he has to stay in home. But hopefully that we will go back to the normality and will lead a social life, a stable social life, and we have stable life. Another question. I want, there is a question here about how to compare between countries, referring to the knowledge indexes. The object is not the comparison is not an objective. This is the idea of comparison. It has not to be there, but we have to, but there is no categories. There is no a rank for the countries. There is no a rank. The countries are not in a correct orders, for example. And here, in our contest here, one of the audience who asked, he was very sad when he read, when he had a look at the indexes and referring to his vision or mission. So we talked, the comparison is not an objective. And actually the comparison is not recent objective here. It's not a recent aim. And we have to, the scholars and the educational experts, they care about their performance inside the educational sector. We have to be very careful to focus on the higher education. We have to focus on our own performance internally in the country. The governance and the government sectors has to work hard for that. And there is 5 minutes more. There is another question, how to, Isa is asking, do you think the electronic education will affect the education in general, and or it will affect the government's expansion. This is difficult, actually. It's difficult to question. Actually, this is a kind of prediction. The government performance and the salaries are already existed. They are working as well. They are already working. So, do you think it will be reduced? The salaries will be reduced, or they will increase? This is a kind of a prediction. For example, referring to my experience, American University, referring the students when they used to pay some specific rates or fees for the university, but now with the online learning, on the online learning, the students some students were integrated together in the classroom on online learning. So we don't go to the university. We should reduce the rate. We should reduce the price of the fees, the educational fees. Here some financial impact on the educational sector, but yeah, it's clear. There is Arwa is asking about, do you think that there is a professional policy in order to lead this period or this time? And yes, there is very good opportunities for all the sectors to improve, to develop, and we have to avoid the comparison. So, and we also should have clear database, and if you read the index, some countries indexes might be 17 or 15, 14. Here, the indexes, the indication has been changed when there is fluctuated indexes, when there is fluctuated indication. So that improved, that the country has been improved, that improved their performance. And do you think that the last question here, Dr. Hassan is asking, do you think the higher degree from MSc, MA, MSc, the PhD degrees, do you think they are important at the moment? Actually, the market doesn't, if the PhD doesn't allow for its holder to be not, if you are having a PhD and you can't work referring to your PhD, it will be a problem. I think it will be more different. The degree is important, but to improve the skills, to improve the efficiency, to improve how to be well adapted to the market. This is the important. I can't, yeah. The students, our students has to, they know how to, they should know the requirements of markets, the indication, we should not only to go in such axes but I don't want to, some specials, I think some specials or some degrees, some specialized degrees are going to be very well affected, very well adapted with the market, but some other specialists won't be. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for your session. We are going to finalize it. We are going to have another session at 5 o'clock. And there is another the index analysis with John. And hopefully that you're going to attend that 5 o'clock session and how to register. Thank you very much for all participants.